guys, it's Graham. A big welcome back to my channel, and in today's video I'm joined by two very special friends of mine who are going to tell you all about Culturalcare Au Pair, the biggest au pair agency in the USA. In this video, we are going to be talking with Steph and T, the founders of Au Pair T, who are Culturalcare ambassadors. They are au pairs here in the US from the UK, and they are joining me today to help explain to me what Culturalcare is and to give you guys all the things that you need to know before you make the investment to go with Culturalcare, or if you're just shopping around. Before I start this video, be sure to subscribe to the channel, like it, and go and follow me over on Instagram, where if you want to be in a video like this, you can send me a DM and we'll set it up. Also, be sure to go and follow Steph and T. I'm going to put their Instagram here and their podcast here. They have a fantastic podcast. It's one of my all-time favorites. You're going to love it. And they cover everything you need to know about Culturalcare, about au pairing, about America. It's incredible. So without wasting any more time, let's jump into the interview with Steph and T. Alright everyone, I'm here with Steph and T from Au Pair T. We want to welcome them, thank them so much for coming to talk about Culturalcare today. We're going to go through some things that you should know about Culturalcare if you are looking to participate in the program, and they are going to be providing us with all the information we need. If you want to hear more about them, you need to go and subscribe right now to their podcast, Au Pair T. I'm going to put it up here on the screen. We're going to talk about it later. But so just to jump right in, can y'all give like a brief introduction about yourselves, where you are, kind of your au pair experience?
Hi everybody, I am Steph, one of two Au Pair T. I'm from the UK. I'm an au pair in Maryland currently, with a family of 4 kids, which is a lot. I've been here for 11 months and I'm about to start my 2nd year in New York, which is super fun. I'm 25 years old, so I'm coming up to the age limit for the program, so did it just in time. But yeah, it's a great time. And I'm au pair with Culturalcare, obviously.
Oh, well, thanks for that, Steph. My name's T, well, Tamar, but everyone calls me T. I'm 24 and I'm an au pair in Raleigh, North Carolina, and I've been here 11 months as well. I think Steph's like a week or 2 ahead of me in terms of the program. And I have 3 amazing little host kids who are, we've just had birthdays, so 7, 4, and 2. And again, I'm also with Culturalcare and I'm from England as well.
Yay! Okay,
Welcome.
So that's a great segue into our next point, which is, what is, for those who are like total beginners looking into this, what is Culturalcare? How does it work? And what are the things that people should know right off the bat about the agency?
When you become an au pair in the USA, for legal reasons, visa requirements, and everything, you have to go through an agency. An au pair agency. There are many agencies out there, and we'll stress that we're kind of biased. We've had a great experience with Culturalcare, so we will say amazing things, but they do have their cons as well. So take what we say as opinions only. But yeah, you have to go through an agency, and we did a bunch of research before we applied to an agency specifically. But Culturalcare is one of those agencies. It works out of many countries. It's been around for like 30 plus years, I think, right?
Yeah.
It's a really, really good, really well renowned agency. And yeah, you basically have to go through them in order to get families that have been background checked, be able to go through the correct visa requirements, just basically do the whole program legally, because America's laws are America's a very crazy country. It needs to have very specific things in place to let people in. So yeah, I think that it's just somewhere that's going to provide you with support, all the legal side of it, and give you families that are, safe. It's like a safety blanket for becoming an au pair.
I think as well, Culturalcare, I think when I was applying, it was the case that they are the biggest provider of au pairs in the US, because which it just reminded me of a point that someone actually messaged me not that long ago asking, like, is Culturalcare, is this a scam agency, what's this, blah blah blah? And I'm like, oh no, it's all legit, it's all good, it's like one of the biggest in the US, so please don't worry about it. But yeah, I love Culturalcare. Like Steph said, there are a couple of cons, as with everything, and nobody's perfect, but Cultural Care are pretty good at what they do, at least from our perspective and the experience that we've had. It might be different for other people.
And I just want to add for the viewers, we talked about this before we started filming. None of the three of us are being paid to say good things about Cultural Care.
No, we're definitely
not.
Which we were, but we're not. Okay, so the next thing that I think people are really interested in, one of the questions that I tend to get a lot is from the very start, so from the time you send your first email to Cultural Care or your first call or whatever, until the time where you arrive in the US with your host family, what is a rough time estimate from between those two?
Oh, that's a really hard one because we did all this in the worst time possible with COVID. So everything was a lot longer process than it was meant to be. But I actually applied a few years ago, and I didn't end up doing it in the end back then. But when I sent in interest, somebody phoned me like a couple of days later, maybe even like the next day, and just gave me a bit more information on the program, just, you know, asking like, how interested am I? Am I looking into actually like sending in an application? Is there any questions I had? Is there anything I wanted to know? And the person that phoned me was really lovely. She doesn't work there anymore, but she was really lovely. This was a few years ago. And it was really nice to be able to talk to someone like from the actual agency and not just have to look online. You know, I could actually ask questions and get information straight back. And then when I applied back in November 2019, again, it was very quick. The application itself, it depends how long you take to fill it out. But they will check in and be like, hey, are you gonna like do this part of your profile? And they're always there to like, answer questions as well, which is always great. But the application itself, it depends how long you take, but you can take as long as you need with that.
Yeah.
And then I started my application in November, end of November, and I was like in matching on New Year's Day. So it was about a month.
Okay.
Yeah. I think again, it may have changed since when I first applied, but when I first spoke to Cultural Care, I think they said the average is like 3 to 6 months from the first kind of hello to the, okay, you're in the US. That was kind of like the average. It can be, I think they said, oh yeah, it can be like as quick as 3 months. But yeah, we both had very rocky roads. Like we didn't come the first time we were supposed to come, things happened. And then we were delayed by COVID and we had to do everything to get around it. And it took a lot longer than it should have done. But I'd say the quickest part of mine was when I got my visa exemption, and like I picked up my passport at the courier, not knowing that I got it, and I opened it, little piece of paper, and I was like, "Hey, you have 2 weeks to leave the country." I'm like, "Okay, cool, let's go." So that was it. That was my quickest part. I had 2 weeks to leave. A lot of time, but
my timeline was kind of like, so I applied in November, got into matching end of December, got my visa February, was meant to leave in May.
Yeah.
It's very quick. It's a very quick process. But again, also matching depends how long it takes you to find a family, how many connections you get through. Some people wait a month and they don't get a single connection. And that's not because of you as an au pair. It's just, it depends on the time when you apply and how many families are looking. That's
a big thing as well, isn't it? Like the time of year that you apply, because like the majority of au pairs arrive in July and August. Like it's summer, it's like the end of summer and now school's starting. So that's when au pairs are most needed. I mean, we fly all the time. I think there's only 1 or 2 weeks of the year that Cultural Care don't fly out. Like we fly out like apart from like with Corona and stuff, it used to be like they fly out every single Monday. It's not like you can only come at certain times of the year. But again, if you're applying it, let's say you open an application in September, but you don't want to come until next year, that's kind of on you. There's nothing wrong with getting ready early, because a lot of host parents will need to get a new au pair before their current one leaves. But yeah, don't expect to kind of fly out 2 weeks after you say, hi, I want to be an au pair, because it takes time.
Yeah. And would y'all say like once you did, go into matching, should you just be ready, like kind of have things more or less ready to go just in case, say you do match in a week and you go on from there?
I don't think so, because Cultural Care as part of your application will ask you a rough time frame of a couple of months of when you want to leave. So mine was like between May and July. So I could leave anytime between then. And your families that you connect with will see that, so they know that you have a time frame of when you want to become an au pair. Like when I applied, I still had to like quit my job and sell my car, you know, like things like that. So I don't think you need to be like really prepared to like leave straight away, because you can give a time frame of when you want to leave, you know, whenever you want, really. And the families have to, they will see that, and if they don't think that time frame fits with them, then they just don't connect with you.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and move on to the next question, which is one of the things that interests me the most. And from what I understand, Culturalcare has a training school where you go to this training school in New York. You do this, I think, 1 or 2 week program. So I know for me, like when I first went to Spain, I didn't know anything about Spain, Spanish, childcare. I would have killed to have like an experience like this where I got to meet some people and kind of get orientated with the culture and, you know, all these things. So when you go to the language school, first of all, how long does that last?
I think it's 5 days. So traditionally before COVID, it was you'd fly out on Monday, fly straight to New York, and then you'd leave on Friday to go to your host family. So it's kind of like 5. I think that's how long ours was online. It was 4 or 5 days. Okay. It was a lot.
The next kind of question I have with this is, in the training school, of course, traditionally without COVID, do you meet, like, is the purpose partially for you to meet people that you can connect with later on in your stay? Because I know I hear a lot of au pairs in the US saying it's very, very difficult to meet people, which I understand as an American. I understand even like meeting other Americans. Yeah. So is it helpful for you?
For sure. Yeah, that's definitely one of the purposes of the training school. They do, not only do they do classes, they also do like social events. So there's like a thing called a candy picnic where you can bring candy from your home country and you can sort of socialize with everyone there. They do a karaoke night. They do a pizza party, you know, so they do social things as well in order for you to like meet people that maybe going to live in the same area as you. It's for au pairs all over the country, and they're not specifically going to be where you are going to be staying. But there probably will be people that will stay in the same area as you. So it's really nice to be able to meet people. I think also the sole purpose of it also is for people to practice their English and adjust to American lifestyle, because for a lot of the people that come over here, it's a completely different lifestyle than what they're used to. So, you know, I think it's also that adjusting period as well, and then also to be able to get over a bit of jet lag before you go to your families, you know, you settle in a bit. We also have to do like a first aid training program as well, which is specific to America. America's very specific about what they want, so you have to do like a whole first aid course, CPR training. There's police talks with New York Police Department. They come and do like a whole talk on the road safety and laws in the US, because again, completely different to other countries. But yeah, it's a really good time for people to get accustomed to America and meet people. I think it makes people feel a lot more confident about coming over here, because they're like, oh, okay, I already have a friend. You know, one of my best friends was supposed to be going to the training school at the same time as me. And we met through Instagram because we were going to be arriving at training school at the same time. So it's a really great way to meet people.
I definitely agree.
Kind of moving on to the next question. One of the biggest things for au pairs, at least if you're traveling, say from Europe to the US or the US to Europe or anything outside of the European Union, we have to do visas. And visas are God's punishment on humanity. I'm convinced of it. So one of the
can't put it better myself.
So one of the big things that I think would appeal to me about going with an agency is having some help with a visa. So when you are applying for the J1 visa to be an au pair in the US, who handles that? Like the majority of the work, is that your responsibility, or does the agency pick up some of the labor on that?
It's our responsibility, 100%.
I think I can't remember, did we get like a form or something, Steph?
Yeah,
like when we booked our visa appointment, there was like a form and it told you what the questions were, and it was like, you need to kind of, this is the answer they're looking for, not like a cheating thing, but like details.
Yeah, basically they send you an email with an attachment of basically the form that you fill out to get a visa appointment, and it tells you like what you need to put in each box, you know, to like get the right visa, etc., which is really helpful, especially if you're not English as your first language, because that form is confusing as heck. So like it just tells you like what options you need to choose, which was really helpful when I was booking my appointment. But from then on, you're on your own, sis.
Yeah, it is your job to like book the appointment, to get to the appointment, to bring all of your documents to the appointment. They will help you and say, make sure you bring this and bring copies of this and have this with you. But if you don't bring it, like they're not gonna, because like they are like, the embassy don't really care about your agency. It's all about you. And
you also have to cover the cost of the visa yourself as well.
Yeah.
So when you are applying for that visa, I assume you have to go to like the U.S. embassy or the U.S. consulate for your area.
Yeah.
Yeah, the U.S. embassy in London. Yeah, for us. Okay. It tends to be in the capital of your country.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had to do that for Spain as well. I got to go to a Spanish consulate though, and I kid you not, I'm being dead serious. So when I went to Miami to go to the Spanish consulate, it's in a strip mall, and and the only way you know it's a Spanish consulate is when you walk in the door. There's a picture of the king on the back wall.
Oh my goodness!
London would be a bit more glamorous.
Oh yeah, it's
a very nice building.
It's really nice, yeah.
Like it's nice, but I mean, Steph, you'll agree with me. It is terrifying because there's armed guards outside.
Yeah, they have like full-on guns, which for an English person is really terrifying. We don't see that on the regular.
Yeah, and then you like go through security, and then it's crazy. Like you go through security, then you go out of the building, then you go in another building, then they give you something, then you go upstairs, and then you get there. You wait for your number, and like you've done nothing wrong, but you feel like you're a criminal.
Right, yeah.
It's very scary.
And everybody that works at the embassy is grumpy as hell, so they just put you on edge. They don't make you feel at ease because they're just so grumpy, and you're just like, okay. And the way they ask you questions, it's kind of like you feel like you got the answer wrong, even though it's literally just about you.
It's like, what's your name? Like, oh, I don't know. It's stressful.
It is a stressful experience, but it's not like it's stressful in the fact of the environment. It's not stressful in the fact that you might not get a visa. They only ask you things like, where are you going to be living in the USA? How long are you going to be there? What are you doing over there? Yeah. How many children are you looking after? You know, that kind of thing. It's very basic questions.
Very
it's not
quick.
Yeah, it is very quick. And then they're like, okay, you're done. Bye.
Or they're like, okay. No.
Yeah.
You know, that really surprises me, especially like I could see that for say Nairobi, Kenya, or you know, middle of nowhere Bolivia, but like London, the UK, like American culture, English culture, I feel like of all the cultures of the world, we're probably two of the most similar on good terms.
Yeah,
you know?
For sure.
That really surprises me that they would like place such a unhappy, un-American face on that.
It's very serious. Like everything's very serious when you're there, and you're like, okay.
When I went to the Spanish consulate, so once I got inside the strip mall and went to the consulate, my consular agent, she comes up to me and you know she kisses me on each cheek. We start talking about her family, which just so happens to live 1 block from where I'm living. She's giving me recommendations. And then I'm dead serious. At the end of the appointment, she's like, oh, I forgot your documents. And so so we just like exchange documents, and she gives me my passport. She's like, all right, well, it's so nice to meet you. Good luck. And then we like kiss on each cheek, and
wow. The people at the US Embassy don't even want to stand near you. There's like glass pods between you. They don't even want to breathe the same air as you.
Oh my God.
It's so un-American. I hate
one thing I will say as a bit of advice to people is when you go to your visa appointment, you have to take a passport size picture with you. It cannot be the same picture that's on your passport.
Yeah.
It has to be different. You have to take a new picture. I took just some that, you know, I had left over from when I took my passport picture, because I thought, okay, well, don't need to pay to get new pictures.
Yeah.
I should have got new pictures, because it cannot be the same pictures on your passport, which is so silly. So I had to go into a photo booth and take new pictures while I was there, and it was like so expensive because it was in the embassy. So take different pictures with you from your passport.
Take them a range of like modeling shots.
Yeah, like here's my headshots. Choose which one you like.
Here's my side profile, guys.
That's great. Okay, so moving on to the next question. We spent quite a lot of time on that one. So let's say you're with your family in the US, you're with your host family, and there's some sort of theoretical issue that comes up, which will happen. I'm just going to tell all you people who are watching, at some point you are going to have some problem. So say this problem is, large enough to where you need help with it. Is cultural care going to come in and help you with that, or are you kind of left to deal with that on your own?
So yeah, definitely. I mean, we always say communication on our podcast, but always speak to your host parents. But if it gets to that point where you need an outside resource, then you have something called an LCC, which is your local childcare consultant, and that's someone that lives in your area and is kind of like in charge of looking after the au pairs in that area and the host family. And so the first port of call would be your LCC, and they are there for both of you. So I would call mine and be like, Beth, got an issue, come and help me. And Beth would schedule a meeting, or we'd have a FaceTime or whatever, and I let her know if after you, your host parents and your LCC have a meeting and it's still not resolved, then there are people at the actual offices in cultural care that can call and that can do FaceTimes and stuff, and like if they need to mediate, they can mediate. Like I've known a few au pairs that have needed mediation with their host parents for issues that have kind of arisen. But yeah, they never leave you alone. They do say to you, like, please try and talk it out, but if you need us, please just call us. And because they obviously want everyone to have a good time, but you're never left alone with cultural care. You have your LCC as your first port of call, so use them, because they're a pretty great resource to have.
Yeah. And also, if you're having like a bigger issue, mental health issue, or something's happened back home, a death in the family, anything like that, cultural care are also very supportive. They have higher up in training school, they show you like a spectrum of like the help you can receive depending on the severity of the problem. And they do have trained psychiatrists, like counselors, as in the office, that can schedule sessions with you. They can be regular sessions, they could be one-off sessions if you just need somebody to talk to. So that's really good. And they're literally trained psychiatrists, so they are generally therapists and able to help you with any problem. They also, if there is a death in the family, if it's close family, there is a specific they will pay for a flight home if it's somebody close to you. If it's like an aunt or an uncle, I don't think that is covered, but like if it was like somebody in close proximity to your family, they do pay for a flight home and back again if you want to return. So there is support there, and there is always somebody on the other end of the phone if you need to like ring someone and have a chat.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great. So that was perfect. I thought that completely answered it. All right, so next question, we just have two left. So one of the big things that I know I hear from people who are looking into au pairing in the US, regardless of the agency, is the sticker price on the agency. And I know that, Culturalcare is no exception. There is a pretty high price of entry, but, well, I'm going to let you guys talk about that. So was it worth it, not just financially for you, but also is it worth it, in a personally fulfilling sense?
I think this answer depends on the person. I have friends that swear by never become an au pair. It's the worst thing you could ever do because they've had a bad experience. So I think it depends on the person. But for me personally, yes, it's completely worth it. In that price tag, Cultural Care don't hide anything. They outline everything that your money is going towards. We get the week in New York City, normally with the New York City tour, like they take you out in New York City and you have like a tour of New York that you get to stay there, you get food, you get the classes, the first aid, etc., etc. The flights to the USA, you get insurance coverage, the program fee is in that, you know, everything. And then when you're over here, you're not paying anything, particularly you're not paying for room, like somewhere to stay, you're not paying for food, you know, all that kind of stuff. You get to live here for free and you're getting paid by your host family.
Yeah.
So in that price, you're getting a lot. And then on top of that, you're having an amazing experience, you're experiencing a new culture, you're having a great time, making memories. And for me personally, this experience has changed me as a person in the best way possible. I've become more confident, I'm happy, I'm the happiest I've ever been in my life because I've done this. I've met friends for life, T included, through this, you know, like this whole thing has changed my life for the better. So like there's no price that I could put on that, to be honest.
Yeah.
I
kind of echo that. Definitely, I agree. And some people think, I think our program fee was like £1,200 or something.
Yeah.
And then by the time you paid for your visa and stuff, it was about $1,400 with everything included. But honestly, your host parents are paying thousands and thousands and thousands to have you. It's like 10 grand or something to even join the program. It's insane. And then if after all that, I mean, they pay you and they give you extras and stuff. And then if they want to extend with you, it's like $7,000-8,000.
Yeah.
So they pay a lot of money too. But for me personally, it has been more than worth it after obviously all the stress of being delayed and COVID and having to rematch and everything. It was very, very stressful. And it was like a year and a half in limbo, not knowing what was happening. So I'm very glad I didn't leave the program because I couldn't imagine living somewhere else with different people, and I have no idea what I'm going to do when I get back to England, and that's fine because I'm living my life here and I'm loving it. So it's worth it. Please do it. It's worth it.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that, you know, really stuck out to me is, of course, I did not have a program fee. I didn't have any fees, but I did have a huge visa fee. I had crazy flight expenses. So I think, you know, just if the tables were turned, say I was going from Spain to the US, if you factor in just the flights alone, the program fee is, you know, really not that much. And like you were saying, you know, we say in Spain we get pocket money, and you do not get pocket money in the US. Like, you get paid well.
You get paid, yeah.
You get paid. Yeah. And so I was talking with like a Mexican au pair who went through cultural care, and he was telling me it takes like 6 weeks to essentially, I think he said like 6 weeks to a month to earn back the program fee.
Oh my God.
Which was not the case for me. Like I'm at a net loss on my experience. I'm happy with it, but I'm at a net loss. So that's really good to know.
Can I also point out something amazing that Culturalcare did in regards to like COVID and stuff? Obviously, we are COVID au pairs. A lot of au pairs are now COVID au pairs, came over here in COVID. For us, there's a possibility we probably still wouldn't be here if it wasn't for Culturalcare. So in regards to, it kind of relates to costs and stuff. For me, I had to go to Serbia for 2 weeks. We talked about this on our previous thing.
Link at the top of the screen if y'all have not seen our interview that we did a few months back.
So I talked that we had to go to Serbia for 2 weeks in order to get into the country. Culturalcare could have easily said, okay, you have to pay a bit more in order for us to accommodate you to go to this country. If you want to do this excursion, extra thing to get to the US, you should pay a little bit extra. They didn't make us pay a penny extra. They put us in a 5-star hotel, food included, you know, flights included to Serbia and then to the US. They didn't make us pay a single penny more. They just wanted to get au pairs over to the USA. And I think that just says how much they actually care about the au pairs and they want them to have the full experience. It doesn't matter the circumstances. They will go out of their way to allow au pairs to have this experience, which I just think it was really good of Culturalcare to do that and not, you know, say to the au pairs, well, if you want it, you can pay extra, because as a business, they could have easily done that and got some more money, you know?
And the last thing I will say here in pro for this, as T was saying a second ago, like families pay a lot of money in the US. In Europe, it's really not expensive to have an au pair, or at least in the mainland Europe. I don't know about the UK. And so I think one of the benefits of families paying so much is they generally, I think, would value you more than, say, if you cost them 100 euros weekly. So, you know, I think that they really do want to value you if they're paying a lot of money.
Yeah.
Okay, so moving on to my last question. This is something that I hear a lot from, specifically au pairs coming from more of the third world. Like, actually, one of the people that I was talking from last week from Peru, I think it was. Can you change your visa after you become an au pair to stay in the US, perhaps to study or to work or something like that? Is that possible? If you know.
It's not impossible. It's a very it's a very grey area. It's not impossible. I know a girl who's just finished her au pair term and she has gone onto a tourist visa now. So, you know, it is possible. And you can study here, but I believe, don't quote me on this, the fees to study over here as a non-citizen are more expensive than if like you were an American. So there's a lot, and also there's also the thing of you have to have a sponsor and things. Like there's a lot of ins and outs that you need to like do a lot of research on.
Yeah,
it's not impossible, but I couldn't say the like details on that.
Yeah, there's a couple of different ways. It's like you can get a work visa, you can get a student visa, and then, you know, there's the good old green card. A lot. So apart from obviously the green card, the other ones are only temporary for maybe like 6 months or so. And obviously it all depends. I mean, au pairs that are in their second year now have been granted a 6-month COVID extension to stay if they want it. But there is a thing where it's like, there are host families who are like, is there a way that I can sponsor you to be my nanny? And there is a way, but it can take like at least 18 months. It can take a few years, and they have to prove to the government here that you are the only person. Like they have to advertise in country. They have to prove everywhere that you are the only person that can come and do this job. They have to do payment things as well. It's extremely expensive, extremely difficult, which is why I think there is a huge stigma about au pairs only coming here to get a green card by marrying an American. I hate that stigma.
But
we joke about it, but I hate
even that takes a long time because you have to prove that you're going to stay together and be together for a long period of time in order to be able to get that citizenship. So it's hard to get into America, loves. So
they just don't want us.
They don't want us. But I do know a few people I'm friends with have finished their au pair term and they now are enrolled in a university. They work as a nanny for the host family and they're studying here, and they're on a student visa. That is possible, and I don't think that's that hard, but I would do research in advance if you are thinking about doing that. It's
not easy and it's not cheap, is what we're going to say.
And I do want to clarify one thing for the viewers. Americans really do want you there. It's just our government. Our government doesn't even want us.
The government, sorry.
Sorry, the government, not America.
The government doesn't want us.
They don't want us.
We really love foreigners. I'm sure, I bet y'all are like local celebrities, like British people. We adore British, like the accent. I'm so sorry. I'm sure.
It's our biggest flex, honestly. Being foreign in America it's like carrying around chunks of gold. Like everyone just wants to know you.
You get so much free stuff. Like free Starbucks. Really? I have had so much free Starbucks. I kid you not. Like it is hilarious. And I told Steph about that woman in the park, Steph, who was talking about, she was getting an au pair. She was like, oh yeah, I listened to this thing called Au Pair Tea. And I'm like, hello, I'm T from Au Pair Tea. And she was like, it's insane.
That's great. Okay, so we're going to wrap up the recording here. Thank you guys so much. And we will see T and Steph over on their podcast.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you guys so much for watching one of my favorite videos so far with two amazing friends of mine. If you've enjoyed it, please be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and go over to their Instagram and podcast and subscribe to both of those. They are fantastic. They put out some incredible content that is so helpful for au pairs, and I just cannot thank them enough for coming on. If you want to be in a video like this, go and send me a DM over on my Instagram, and I'll be more than happy to talk with you about it. Thank you so much for watching. Muchas gracias y hasta luego. Ciao.